Father, thank you so much just for who you are and how beautiful you are and the way that you created us and the way that you created us to function. God, thank you so much that you love us and that you desire good for us. I just pray that you give us great wisdom as we jump into the topic of marriage and figure out how we might honor you in the way that we prepare for that. You're good, Lord. And we love you. And it's in your Son's name, Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen. Well, we're going to start out by kind of telling a little bit of our story. So, Jennifer, why don't you take that away?
It's quite the introduction, thank you. So, our story, I was 15 years old, and I went
We didn't get married when she was 15 years old. Sorry.
But I went to this Christian conference at a theme park back home, and I went and I listened to a man by the name of Joe White speak, and his hunky son was playing this music afterwards, and he played this song called Picture of a Wedding, which still to this day, even if I wasn't, oh, spoiler alert, I married him, but if I wasn't married to him, I would still love this song. So anyway, he played this song, and on the bus ride home, I told my friend Kelly that I was going to marry Brady White. And a few years later, I was down here working at Disney on the college program, and my aunt called me and said, I met your husband. And I said, all right, what's his name? And she said, Brady White. And I said, sign me up. Okay. She had known him. She was in charge of our youth group, and she had Brady come play for our youth group, and I fell in love with him and said it was like talking to me.
Not while she was in the youth group.
No, I said I was working at Disney.
I was just making sure.
And and she said, but you need a little time, just pray about it. And she introduced us after that, and we started, well, I met him, and then I went home and broke up with my boyfriend. And then, but anyway, we started dating right after that. We were engaged 4 months after that, and then married 6 months after that. So it was real quick, just kind of like a whirlwind romance. But that's how we met and up to marriage.
Well, that was her perspective. I didn't know her when she was 15 years old.
I did buy a CD.
Can we be honest?
I bought half of the CD.
And
burnt it.
She and her friend then went halvesies and burnt it. So she stole my music, which was awesome.
And your heart.
I like that. I guess Jennifer was younger. I guess she still is younger than I am. It's kind of the way age works. But let's see, I didn't actually meet her until I was 27. Till I was 27. No, 26. We got married when I was 27. So met her when I was older. I would say that. And kind of the way that I functioned within relationships was I had this hole inside of me that I think we can all relate to, and didn't really know what to do with that. I knew that I wasn't complete, or I didn't feel complete. It didn't feel like there was anything for me. There was anything for me to do or whatever. And so I tried a lot of different things in life to fill that. And the main thing that I went after was girls. I really thought that a girl would fill me. I kind of grew up on romantic comedies, as most guys do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so just kind of had that picture of the way things were, and it looked so great in the movies. It looked really, really great. It looked like that's exactly what I want. And when I have that, everything's going to get better. And I just figured that when I got into marriage, all these problems that I had, they would just be easier, or it would just be fixed, or it'd be finished, because marriage was the thing that would solve that. And so, look for that, and every girl that I dated, I thought that that's, what would happen. Ended up meeting Jennifer, which was awesome. Her aunt, who I knew, had told me at one point that she had a niece that worked for Disney, and I was kind of like, all right, because she works for Disney. We're in the Midwest. So what? And so later, she brought her youth group to this theme park that's near my house and asked me to come play for them. And Jennifer was a chaperone, and I remember I had my guitar in my hand, and I opened the door, and as soon as I opened the door, the first person I saw was this little blonde-headed girl who was really, really pretty, and I thought to myself, this is honestly the first thought that jumped to my mind was, please don't be in high school. Please don't be in high school. And so she wasn't, which was awesome. And so we met and hung out and just really hit it off. And that weekend, we hung out a lot, and it was really, really fun. And I didn't know that she had a boyfriend, and she was 19 at the time, and I thought that she was 21 because that's what her aunt told me. And so we hung out and we got to know each other, and after she left, she broke up with her boyfriend, and then I found out that she had a boyfriend after she broke up with him. And then we just talked on the phone for 3 months. We didn't see each other again for 3 months. We talked on the phone and we texted, and that was before texting was easy. I mean, oh gosh.
We had quite the texting bill.
Oh.
My dad still probably wants money from you.
And I wasn't a texter, and so that was a big deal for me. So I kind of fell in love with her over the phone, and then realized maybe a month and a half into it that she was actually 19, and I thought 21 was a little bit too young for me. So 2 more years younger, it was like, oh, what's going on here? But then it just worked. It was really, really fun. We really enjoyed dating for a short period of time and being engaged. And then got married and kind of took all those thoughts that I had and all those feelings that I had that marriage would solve it all into a marriage. So once we got married, how did things change? What's going on?
What's the question?
Well, it's just the idea of how, we had these expectations, we had these thoughts, but then we got married.
All right. So I think we entered into this marriage. Well, first of all, you have to remember 15-year-old Jennifer married, Zac Efron, I don't know. I can't think of a teen heartthrob. But I married my Zac Efron pretty much. And so Brady could do no wrong. So the first year of our marriage was really fun. And we didn't date, and we weren't engaged for too long. So most of our first year was still getting to know you questions and fun butterflies and I don't know, just fun things that come with marriage happened in the first year. And then the second year, that's kind of when I realized that I had all these expectations that I didn't even realize I had. So the only marriage that I watched really was my parents. And so in my parents' household, my dad pays all the bills, and he is the most handiest person ever. He can build homes. He's so handy. So going into things, I just thought, oh yeah, the husband is the one that fixes the toilet when it overflows and hangs pictures and moves stuff. I don't know.
I can move stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's really handy, but I'm probably the handy one. Yeah. So there's all these, there were all these hidden expectations that I didn't even know existed, that I didn't even know that I had, that I was suppressing for those first 12 months. And then after that happened for us, then it was whoa, lots of expectations for you to deal with. So that was really bad on my part.
Yeah, I think for me, I didn't have any expectations, except for that I just thought that everything would just be great, that everything would be fine. And that we wouldn't really need to work on too much, and I don't really know. And so especially when the expectations kind of came my way, I didn't really understand or know what to do with all those. One of my favorite ones is birthdays. Jennifer's birthday is the 3rd of July, and so growing up, her parents told her that everyone was celebrating her birthday. Everyone. The 4th of July. If you guys don't know, so there's parades and there's fireworks and everything for her birthday. So her birthday was quite a big deal, and she expected that it would be a big deal. And me, birthdays are it's just another day, and for her it's just another month because the whole month. And so there were a lot of things like that, and I'm sure I had I don't know, I really didn't have many expectations, which we're going to get to was not a good thing. And so I had to kind of live up to some of the expectations that she had, or we had to kind of rethink some of the expectations. So kind of interesting. When you think about marriage and you think about, okay, this is what I want. A lot of you probably have expectations. Some of you have expectations that you don't know about. But I think it's important that you do have expectations. And we would say that it's important to think through those expectations and make sure that they're biblical, that they're right. Because a lot of our expectations are like that they should have blonde hair, or something that you can't really control because she's had a number of different colors of hair since we've been married. And they're we have a lot of interesting expectations that we probably shouldn't have, and we don't have expectations for the things that we should have. And so let's kind of talk through a few of these deals. Let's look at spiritually. What should... Oh gosh, I forgot how bad I am right on these things. Spiritually, what are some expectations that we should have spiritually going into marriage?
That they love Jesus.
They love Jesus. I like that.
And that you would sharpen each other daily.
Do worship similarly to you?
Worship similar to you?
Yeah, like you wouldn't want to go to be with someone that wants to go to a completely different style of church. So if what draws them closer to God is completely than what draws you closer to God, it'll be very difficult to come to a common. So
the idea that you guys are going to want to, worship Jesus together, and if, someone is, let's say they're Catholic and you're Protestant and you're both diehard on that, those are different churches, and so how do you reconcile that? Okay. What else?
They're studying the Word of God.
That they study the Word of God?
Yes, individually, and want to do it together in marriage.
Say pray together.
Pray. That you guys would pray together. I like making it.
That they're accountable to somebody.
Accountable, okay.
I would say not only do they love Jesus, but do they live out what Jesus asks of his followers.
We'll say live out Jesus because we know what that means. Anything else? Any other thoughts of things that you should expect about marriage spiritually? Do you have anything to add to that?
I expected the man to lead.
Okay. Okay. So some good expectations. Let's move to emotionally. Whoa. Taking off on me. Emotionally, what are some expectations that we should have about marriage emotionally?
That you would be supportive of one another.
Okay.
Aye.
Or
Oh,
supportive?
yeah.
Alright.
I guess know how to deal with conflict.
Okay.
Can we hold it?
That's being supported.
Literally.
Okay. Okay. No. Don't. Maybe you should write that.
You look like Vanna.
That looks like something I should do. can hold things.
Okay, I'll be you. What else? What else are you thinking?
You don't have a cool hat on.
My hair will look crazy.
You're fun together. You enjoy each other.
You care for their feelings.
That they aren't emotionally codependent.
No?
So not emotionally good.
Not even necessarily just with the other person, but
You write so well.
You have good compliments, maybe?
Oh, don't be jealous.
Communicate well.
You have the proper perspective, or you can attain the proper perspective.
A lot of alliteration going on there.
Yeah, that they would serve one another in the ways that they need.
Oh, look at you, making it emotional. I like that.
So it's hard.
Encouraging.
Respectful. Oh, I like that.
Know each other's love language.
Are we familiar with love languages?
we talked about it a couple months.
We did?
Like a month and a half ago.
What are they? What are the love
Words of
languages?
affirmation, acts of service.
Gifts.
Yes, yes. There's too much.
Quality time.
Physical touch.
Compliment.
Quality time.
Words of affirmation. Awesome.
And that you should serve the other person in their love language.
Yep.
Ooh,
That's what I was
yeah.
trying to get at with service.
We'll put them together.
Combining.
Anything else? All right, let's jump into, oh, fun one.
You could have left servant's heart up there.
Servants out of there?
Look at everyone in junior high and marriage. What's some expectations should you have
I would
about
say-
the way things would be in marriage sexually?
I would say respectful again. as well.
Respectful, that's good.
That happens.
That it happens.
Enjoyable.
Enjoyable.
A lot.
Y'all are thinking it, I don't know.
Have a lot. Trying to filter out what you should say instead of what you expect.
Have fun.
Fun?
Communication.
Unselfish.
I like that.
And it can lead to children.
That it would lead to children.
That's a possibility.
That it's, you would expect that it may lead to children. I see what you're saying. Totally. It happens sometimes, yeah.
That it's private.
That is pure.
Sure. Maybe add to that monogamous. I wouldn't either. Just
M-O-N-O.
Mono a mono.
M-O-N-O.
Not to get mono.
Well, that can happen. kissing
So
the
you,
face.
you still show your love through it, like it's not just, you know, something you're doing to physically please each other.
Okay.
Like
Emotionally
loving,
as well.
Wow, I like
Yes.
that.
the emotional.
I think it's important to still keep in mind the other person's love language too.
Yeah.
Anything else?
You want to put fearless?
Fearless.
Completely confident.
That is a great one.
And you're comfortable all the time. Because maybe you're safe out there.
It's not one-sided. Like both parties are equally excited about the other.
Anything else? All right, what about financially?
I would prefer to have someone that's debt-free,
Debt-free.
or at least on the way.
Product of Dave back there.
Or a plan to be debt-free out there.
Yeah.
Honest?
Honest. Like that.
Does you share your money?
It's a great thought. Some people, you know, expect to have separate bank accounts. Some people expect to have one. So.
That they would live simply.
Be wise how you spend it.
So that you're stable.
Pardon?
Stable.
I would say punctual, like paying things on time and responsible, I guess.
You should give freely and generously.
Mhm.
Willing to budget. And that we share the same financial goals.
And you never make a decision based on money.
Can you unpack that? You said that.
A lot of people, they put money in security, like, okay, I'm gonna take that job because that has more money. But that's not how our God works, so.
Say,
Do you communicate about money, like big spending decisions?
That you both can agree to give when you can.
But you know that the money ultimately isn't ours, to not like put your faith in that.
Able and eager to go without. I think that's important.
Sorry.
it's probably my fault. Maybe your dad can fix it.
I don't know if this would go along with give or even give freely, but I would say give back to God.
Time.
Yeah. That's
Trust in each other and trust in God. Where it's
Trust
gonna
is
come from and
important.
what you can do.
Yeah.
That you save when you can.
That you're both contributing in some way.
Not prideful to to accept help.
I think also being able to provide for your family is,
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think for women, being willing to let the man, like, take on that role of provider.
Yeah, I feel like this work is more heavily impacted by men, and then women letting them provide is good.
Anything else? All right, what about last one, communally? As in like community.
Oh,
We kind of covered it a little bit under the spiritual aspect, but that you can agree on a church to plug into.
Makes it difficult when mom goes to one church and dad goes to another.
So having like the same doctrine.
That you would spend time with other people. Not just, be secluded, but
Yeah.
be a part of the body of Christ.
A lot of times when people are dating, they disappear from the friend group.
Do you have marriage mentors?
Say that again?
Do you have marriage mentors, like people who are married that you
Yeah.
go to for advice?
but they have people that hold them accountable.
Accountability.
I think that you should be able to agree on the people you can go to for wise counsel. So like, if my husband didn't agree with my sister being one of those people, I wouldn't go to that person with everything. So like, agreeing on your like accountability partners, I guess.
Maybe that you would have the same values in an accountability person or mentor.
Do you look to serve your community? Discipleship, like not only being discipled, but discipleship.
You would keep private things private.
Do we have a funny one over here? No? All right.
That both would be under authority in the church.
To speak highly of each other and like when they're not there, like you're not going to talk bad about your spouse in front of others.
Would you be missional? Both of you like missional?
Wow.
That you both be able to share the gospel.
Anything else?
I don't know if this one would go under it, but just that your marriage would look like what Christ and the church is supposed to look like.
Right, under it.
talked about it a little bit with like Bible study, but just being open to communicate about everything, like any of your concerns, having that freedom.
So we listed a lot of really good expectations. We listed them in, what, 5 different areas? So would you guys agree that if all these things were present, that your marriage would be a pretty good marriage? Probably. Now, just so you know, one thing that the scripture is very clear about is that marriage is for your holiness, not necessarily for your happiness. So I think what this will do is not necessarily make marriage easy. Like having these expectations might not make marriage easy, but I think it'll make it easier. And we'll cut out a lot of the unnecessary stress and frustration and hurt. And so let's see, what are we in 2013? 2013. Marriage. So we don't know when this is, but we're the only married people in the room, I think. So at some point, not right now today, but at some point you'll be married, and that is in the future, right? Can we all agree with that?
Yes.
So if you have all these expectations, all these good expectations, these expectations that are probably biblical and scriptural and wise, what can you be doing now so that when you get here, it's what you want it to be? We've got all these different areas. Spiritually, we said a number of different things, a number of things that we think are important, a number of different things that we want to have. So what can we begin doing now spiritually to prepare ourselves so that we can have what we want within marriage?
First, you can start praying for whoever God has planned for you. And pray that you can meet their expectations, and at the same time, they can meet yours as well.
Yeah.
I think, especially for the guys to go out and get a job.
Yes, that would be under the financial thing. We'll wait for the financial thing for that one, but totally, yeah. So spiritually, let's continue in the spiritual realm. What are some things that you can do now so that you can have what you want when it's time for marriage?
You can also say stay pure.
Stay pure. That would probably be under sexually, but yes, totally.
Work on your character.
Work on your character. Yeah.
Kind of rethinking your own expectations that you had before.
Yeah. So make sure that your expectations are good expectations. Because so often we have random expectations that aren't good and actually can be really unhelpful and hurtful. Make things more difficult.
Develop a authentic and open communication with God. So you know what his voice sounds like and how all that works in your life before you add another voice into that mix.
Yeah.
I'd say be in the Word and let the Word transform you.
Yeah.
Just being open to for God to work in the places that you have deficit.
Yeah. Be disciplined at getting into the Word for sure.
I think just in general, like building a relationship with God, like so for like women, it's not like, oh, I'm waiting on like a spiritual leader in my life, or for a guy, like that way they are strong spiritually with their own relationship with God, so that when they are helping to lead their wife spiritually, it's not something new.
Yeah. You bring up a great point that I did not get until I was married. The idea that everything is not going to magically all of a sudden become great. If you're a guy and you feel like you expect that you should be the spiritual leader, you're not going to all of a sudden be a spiritual leader when you get married. You've got to prepare for that. You've got to work towards that. And if you're a wife, and let's say you want your husband to be a spiritual leader, you have to begin submitting yourself to spiritual leadership now. Otherwise, you're not going to get in marriage and start submitting. It's difficult. So what are some other things spiritually that you can begin to do, or are there any more left?
I would say begin praying that the Lord would fill that hole in your heart that you were talking about earlier, that you had before, that you thought that marriage would fill.
Yeah.
Pray that the Lord would fill that himself.
Yeah. Yeah, marriage it's like a cake with icing on it. Marriage is a good thing. There's a lot of great things that God has given us, and that's the icing, but it's not the cake. And you need to make sure that God is filling what He's supposed to fill. I mean, if you had only icing, that would not be the greatest experience after a while. It's good to have cake. So.
Know that God is sovereign. I think we often forget that in times of waiting, or times of trial, or times of hardship. Like, know that He's sovereign, and that holiness that we're wanting is not also. It comes before marriage. It comes through marriage. It comes after. Like, holiness is a process, and it comes because God is hands-on with you, and it's really important.
So practically, how can you begin realizing that God is sovereign? What can you do?
Serve.
Serve?
Like serving in the church, like definitely being plugged into the church and serving as much as you can.
Okay.
Holding life open-handedly,
Ooh.
that's hard, and
Yeah.
it often doesn't look the same all the time, but
Especially if you like to be in control. A lot. Some people like to be in more control than other people.
Trusting God for what He has planned for you, and not just following your plan.
Yeah. That can be really difficult.
Paying attention to your surroundings and the way that He's working in the lives of your friends and in your community.
Yeah. Let's move on. What about emotionally? What can you begin doing emotionally now to prepare yourself to be emotionally ready for marriage? The marriage that you want.
Look to God for your happiness and joyfulness, not people. Things.
Finding fulfillment in Him alone.
Yeah. Kind of like filling that hole with you.
Stop watching so many chick flicks.
Yeah. I mean, we all laugh, but when we watch How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, and we watch all those things, especially for, I can't speak for men, but for women, we get these underlying expectations that we don't even realize. You know, we think that as soon as we get married, oh yes, then all the flowers are going to come, and then I won't be lonely on Valentine's Day. Some of my worst Valentine's Days have been married to Brady. Like, he's great, but I think we have, because we watch chick flicks, and we have all this of what romance is supposed to be. So we laugh, but that's right.
It's true.
Cleansing ourselves of that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Anything that's not helpful in you getting to where you want to go, maybe get rid of that kind of stuff.
That part's not fun. We just kind of throw that out there like, it's so easy, stop watching movies, but it's not fun.
Practice serving, others in your community.
Yeah. Practice that now.
Deal with sin, like any sin that's been done to you or that you've done, deal with that now, so that emotionally you're more solid.
Yeah. There could be emotional scars that if you don't deal with, they're going to reopen.
Work on having healthy friendships. So if you're not like codependent or having unhealthy conflict in friendships, you're probably going to be able to carry that into your marriage.
Yeah.
I'd say keep God your first priority, just so you know you always have Him to fall back on, rather than someone or something else.
And maybe not even use the term fall back on, but that, God wouldn't be the thing that you fall back on, but He would be your pursuit, your desire. Who you were chasing after. What?
Who you abide in.
Yeah. What about sexually? How can you begin now preparing yourself to have the sex life you've always wanted? Or that you should probably biblically expect?
Don't lust after people.
Don't lust after people. So begin training yourself to not lust within marriage. Because here's the thing. If you lust now, you're going to lust in marriage. If it's hard now, it's harder in marriage. It's much more difficult in marriage. And that was something I could not grasp onto. I thought that all of my problems with lust was that, God had given me a sexual desire, and it just wasn't fulfilled yet. I wasn't able to fulfill what God had given me. And so that's why I was struggling with all of these things. But when I got married, I realized that was not the case. That the problem was not that. The problem was sin. There was sin in my life, and I needed to deal with the problem of sin in my life. Yeah.
Take care of your health.
Take care of your health.
Yeah.
It's good to take care of your health. That's a good thing. Yeah. But also probably continue to set your expectations right about looks within marriage. Because here's the thing. It doesn't matter who you marry, at some point they're going to be old. It's just the case. And old things don't look like what you think you're going to desire now. So begin preparing your mind and your heart for that. Pray, God, help me have the right expectations for what I'm going to desire my wife to look like. Help me do that right.
I think this and all the aspects we talked about are super important, but I think especially for guys, this particular one, it's great to dive in and really think about what your expectations currently are for sex and marriage, and
The ones that we couldn't write down.
and weed out the things that don't stand up biblically.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like what you were talking about with chick flicks. For guys, it's more on the sexual side, and I think we've got all these ideas and all these thoughts that have just been pervasive, the entire time growing up. And then you enter into marriage and you're like, I didn't think that was disrespectful, or I didn't think that was wrong to ask that, or whatever.
Yeah.
And so you end up being disappointed when really it's not right to expect certain things.
We become so desensitized to it. One thing that Brady prayed for that I thought was unique was he prayed that we would have the same sex drive, so that we would want it the same or not want it the same. And I had never heard of that until, after we were married and you told me. But I thought that was really unique because we both come with different expectations. And
And in most marriages, you don't have sex every single day. We do, but most people don't. That should be a great expectation to have is, okay, it's not going to be like that. And the great thing about that, here's one of the most amazing things that I found within marriage, is that sex within marriage is actually satisfying. And when you're dealing with lust is never satisfied. It always wants more. It always wants different. And that's not the way that God created sex to be. Lust is a taking thing, and love is a giving thing. And when you have sex within marriage, when you're spiritually right about it, it's actually satisfying. And you're like, oh, when you eat a really good meal and you're finished, you don't continue eating because you're satisfied. You stop. And that's a lot more, what sex is like within marriage, or what it can be like. Let's go with financially. What can you begin doing to prepare yourself to be in the right spot financially?
Why are you pointing at me?
Say what you said. Get a job.
Get out of debt.
have you taken Financial Peace?
I have.
Yes. So have we.
Financial Peace University, that is a great class to take. Dave Ramsey.
Single, married, have a pet, don't have a pet. This is a great class.
It's really true. The way that we tend to deal with money is we say, okay, I make a certain amount, and if I spend less than that, I'll be okay. That's like the most that we think about it. And it's like, okay, I think I've got enough. Maybe I'll check my account once a week or something. But you can actually have a purpose with your finances, and that it changes things. It radically changes things. I would encourage, Jennifer would encourage all of you to take Financial Peace University now, before you get married. Because if you begin to have a plan with your finances now, it's going to be so much better within marriage. We talked about debt. people don't like debt. Debt's not a good thing. Debt is a difficult thing, and so if you can begin having a plan now to how to get out of debt, it's going to be very, very helpful. There are so many things about debt that we don't understand. A car payment, that's debt. What was the other one that you mentioned earlier?
School loans.
School loans, that's debt. And we don't typically think of that because it's normal. Everybody has a car payment. Everyone has school loans. And the truth of it is not everyone does. And it's not even the people that you think. You think, oh, well, the wealthy people, they're fine. And a lot of times the wealthy people are more in debt than some of the people that are less wealthy. It's just important to be aware of what's going on with your finances. And a course like Financial Peace University can be very, very helpful.
That regardless of how much you make, that you're intentional about tithing.
Yeah. If you don't tithe now, you're not going to tithe later. If you're not generous with your money now, you're not going to be generous later. You're not going to begin once you have more money, because the thing is once you have more, you have more. The more that you hang on to it, the longer that you hold on to it, the less that you're going to be giving with God's money. Viewing it actually as God's money. Saying, oh, this is God's, it's His money, because He provided the job for me. Oh, He provided the personality to give me in the place where I could actually have the job. He provided the body that I have so I can have the job that I have, or the mind that I have, or whatever. It's all a gift from God. And you say, God, this is yours. You're allowing me to keep 90% of it? Are you kidding me? How awesome is that? Not, oh, I gotta give 10% of this away, and then maybe even be generous after that. Are you kidding me?
It goes back to what Julie was saying earlier about understanding that God is sovereign. You asked about a practical way. Being generous is a way to practice the idea that God is sovereign.
Yeah. Giving your money is the active thing that you can do to fight against greed. Greed is enslaving. Greed will enslave your life. And what you can do to fight against greed is give. We had a great couple friend in California, and they at one point made a ton of money. A ton of money. They were doing really, really well. And then, God got a hold of their hearts in a number of different ways, and they decided that his wife wasn't going to work anymore in this job that was paying bukus of money, because it was, just the hours were insane, and it was, hurting their marriage. And then he got a different job because that was affecting other things. And so all of a sudden, financially, they made a ton less. And he was the type of guy that really wanted control and really wanted to have things figured out. And so what they decided through, God showing them some great stuff, is that any time that they began to feel worried about their finances, they would go take another couple out to dinner that was less fortunate than them and pay for their meal. Because that's how you fight against it. Anything else financially?
I think it'd be helpful now for you to find someone that you can be honest with about your money and the way that you spend it and the way that you're saving and the fact that you're tithing, because I think money is a very private thing to us, and we hold it really close. Like Brady was saying, we just hold it with clenched fist. And so to go ahead and start that open dialogue with one person, we have accountability partners with Lust, and we have stuff on our computers, but for some reason, when we start talking about money, no one wants to talk about it. But when you get into marriage, you have to talk about money, because you're probably going to have a joint account, and so you're going to see where all that money's going. And so to already be practicing how to talk about it, and that it's okay to talk about it. It's all God's anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Let's go on to communally, within the community. What can you begin doing to prepare for the way that you want your marriage to be like within the community?
Have friendships.
Have friendships.
Build relationships.
Build relationships.
Having your home open and available to your community.
Yeah.
Getting discipled and being a discipler.
Yeah, being a part of the discipleship process, having a mentor, and then discipling someone. So important.
Look up, get your eyes off yourself. Look up, look around. There's
Yeah.
lots of people in need,
Yeah.
hurting, and they might be sitting right next to you and you don't even know it, so
Yeah.
keep on loving people.
Yeah. If I had one soapbox, this would be my one soapbox. No secrets. There should not be any part of your life that no one knows about. Now, you don't have to share all of your life with everyone, but there should be 0 parts of your life that nobody knows about. You have no idea the danger of secrets in all of these areas. Make sure that you have great accountability, that you have great friendships where you can be open and you can be honest about, because the darkness is where sin grows. The darkness is where Satan takes over. And even if it's secrets about things that aren't that big a deal, it can grow and it can change and it can take over your life. You've got to live your life in the light where people know you and people know about you. It's so unbelievably important. I would say in every area of your life, make sure that there are no secrets, because that will come back and that will haunt you big time. Any other thoughts?
I think it'd be, as we're like talking about becoming whole, like not waiting for marriage to figure out who you are, finding out your conflict style. We all conflict and we all, argue in different ways, and figuring out how you do it. And that way, number one, it blesses your community. And, but just for you to know how you're going to handle that, because marriage isn't perfect and you are going to conflict, and how is that going to look in your marriage? So go ahead and start practicing how to do that in a healthy way.
Yeah.
I think that's really good.
Oh, you said healthy way. Deal with conflict in a healthy way. My unhealthy way is I want to run from conflict. I don't like conflict. It's like, conflict's the worst. But it's important to deal with conflict. It's important to learn how to do that, because it's going to happen within marriage. Friends of ours deal with conflict, right? We don't, but other people do. And here's kind of the idea with just all of this and the expectations and working now is, if you're in a little sailboat, it's really easy to turn that sailboat. You can, you do the little rudder and that whips the sailboat around. But if you're on a cruise ship, how easy is it to turn a cruise ship? Not very easy. Ask the Titanic, right? I mean, for real, it's difficult to turn things. And when you're alone and you're on your own, to change your life, I mean, there's an amount of difficulty to that. But when you add a spouse to that, it exponentially increases the difficulty of the ability for you to change the way that you are. And then you add kids, whoa, even greater than that. So if you want to have a great marriage, if you want to enjoy your marriage, it's important that you figure out, what are my expectations? And then weigh those expectations biblically. A great thing within community is ask people, hey, are these realistic expectations? Are these good expectations? Should I have more? Should I have less? Should I have different ones? How should I refine them? And then say, okay, I'm at a place right now where I can begin working towards those things, so that when I get in marriage, at some point, hopefully it won't all just like crumble and you'll just be like, oh my gosh, what did I get myself into? How am I going to do this? And we had one of those moments about a year into our marriage when it seemed like everything hit at once, and it was just really, really difficult. And it took us at least a year to just work our way out of that craziness, that pit that we had gotten into because of the way that we naively got into marriage. So just say, hey, you have a great opportunity to begin preparing to be the husband or the wife that you want to be, or the husband or wife that your spouse is going to want. And it's so important. And you just have a great opportunity because you're not married yet, and you have just a lot of hope in that area. So let's take a second, let's pray, and ask God to help us. Heavenly Father, thank you so much just for who you are. And once again, that you are good and that you love us and that you want good for us. Thank you that you want us to have a fun marriage. You want us to have an enjoyable marriage. you want us to represent you well through our marriages. I just pray that you would help us and give us correct expectations. And then that you would just give us a great desire and a great drive to pursue after what we need to be pursuing after right now. Father, I pray that we would all realize that marriage is not our Savior, that it's not going to fix everything, that it's not going to save us from our emptiness, and that we would not put it up on a pedestal or make it an idol. And that we would continually remember that marriage is for our holiness. God, thank you so much for marriage and the way that it reflects you. I just pray that we'd honor you in the way that we live. And we need your help. We need your grace. We need your strength. So help us, God. It's in your Son's precious name, Jesus Christ, we pray.